Hello again, Herd. We are the Herdsmen. I am Mark.
I'm Grant.
And we're back with a different review for you today.
A movie review.
A movie review. We've been wanting to do this a long time on our channel. We've done a couple of them.
Yeah, and we actually started this thing out wanting to do a kind of a movie talk sort of thing.
Yeah, originally this was going to be... I'm going to button my button here. This was going to be like a movie talk show, but it's hard to do because it's hard to really... get to that many movies and have good conversations, and that's what we wanted to have. So I think we've had good food conversations, and we're just going to add this to the mix.
All right.
All right. So we went and saw a movie yesterday.
It's called It.
It. And this is a movie. This is, first of all, our movie. This is an our movie. For those of you that saw the miniseries in the 90s?
Yeah, 1990, a 3-hour-long miniseries.
3-hour miniseries, and this is by the Stephen Hawking. This is Stephen Hawking. This is by
No, this is Stephen King.
Stephen King. Stephen Hawking. Stephen King. And the miniseries was on TV, and it was rated probably PG. I would guess would be a good level.
Actually, I think it was also rated R.
I don't think they do miniseries with R. Do they? Well, anyway, it was a lot more tame. We saw the movie, and we're eating popcorn today, by the way, because that's what you eat at movies. So we thought we'd have some popcorn. So we saw this movie. I am not a huge horror fan. I like horror books. I like Stephen King's books. The Shining, I enjoyed. What other Stephen King books have I read?
There's, did you read Christine?
Yeah, read Christine, liked Christine.
Yeah, and we own a fair amount of Stephen King. We own Stand By Me. We own Shawshank, The Shining.
Yeah, so we like Stephen King. And so I agreed. He likes horror in the first place, so I agreed to go see this movie with him. So, what do you think?
Oh my gosh, I loved it. I loved everything about it. It's not like those horror movies now that are a bunch of false jump scares, you know, the parts where you see the music start to slow down and you think the monster's gonna jump out at you, but it turns out to be one of the guy's friends. No, none of that. The clown is genuinely scary. It's not just a good performance by Tim Curry like it was in the miniseries.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I agree with that too. The jump scares in movies, in horror movies today, the fake jump scares, those ruin horror for me. This is like it took a step back, and this is good old-fashioned horror to me.
Yeah.
The clown, crap. The clown is scary. I mean, just flat scary. I mean, and the movements that they made him do.
Yeah.
The shaking up. And then, spoiler alert, we're going to talk about this. So,
yeah, we're going into huge detail on this.
So tell basically what the movie is about.
It's about this group of kids.
And I'll eat popcorn.
It's about this group of kids from a place called Derry, Maine, which if you read a lot of Stephen King, nearly every story he tells is in Maine. They've made jokes about this. And there's a group of murderers there's a huge amount of murder that is happening within this town. And these kids find out, one, that no adult is paying attention to it, and two, it happens every 27 years.
Yeah, and so you get to know these kids a little individually, and then they become this group of losers, basically. They jokingly refer to it as the Losers Club. But you get a piece of each kid coming into this. And the chubby kid, the last kid, or not the last kid in, but the second to last kid in, he's the one who is the loner who spends his time at the library, and he discovers all of these things. And so it's kind of laid out that way, and it's so cool because you get to meet these individual kids who are all damaged in some way.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all living some horrible life thing happening, but they get together as this group of losers, and they try to engage this evil.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go from there.
First thing I gotta say is I love one, that it's an 80s film. Because in the book series, not in the book series, well, in the book series as well, it took place in the 50s, and I kind of never bought that. In the 80s, man, it's just steeping with nostalgia. They even reference 80s culture. Like, there's this one chick called Beverly, and she cuts her hair earlier at a point in the film, and then at a point where they're contemplating fighting the clown again, they say, wait, why are we listening to Molly Ringwald?
And it's funny because we're watching the movie, and he said earlier in the movie, she looks like a young Molly Ringwald. So it was really funny when they said that. So the movie is about them trying to come up with the guts and the group dynamic to be able to fight this evil, and all of them have to be in on it, or it can't succeed.
And I noticed this is a really good group dynamic. I mean,
yes.
on par with the Avengers. Honestly, I mean, they just fit that well together. You don't get that a lot with kids.
Yeah, these kids are great together. I recognized a few of them from other things.
Yeah, some of them, I think they're on Stranger Things.
Right, and that was kind of cool to see that these kids are crossing over into the big screen as well.
They've hit the big leagues.
Yeah, the big leagues. So, as a horror movie, this is a really cool story. It's a long movie, too. It was 2.5 hours long. And when I say long movie, I mean for today's movies. Today, horror movies are, an hour and 10 minutes. They're just, they slap them together. This is a 2.5-hour movie.
And it's only the first part of this.
And it is a great walkthrough. It's a story that is really fun to watch. Now, if you don't like foul language, okay?
You are going to hate this film.
Yeah, it's got a lot of foul language.
Mostly said by the kids.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that if that doesn't bother you, you will enjoy this. Because I think, for me at least, and I know I get crap from other parents when I say these kind of things, but it wasn't overused. Mm-hmm. It wasn't, the foul language was not overused. It was used appropriately as teenagers would use it. And so it didn't offend me because that's how teenagers speak, I think.
And what you mentioned about it being gratuitous, not being gratuitous with the language, mm-hmm. It also wasn't gratuitous with the blood, was it?
Yeah, the violence in it, yes, there is violence in it. And, but it's not gore. There's a lot of blood, okay? But it's not in the way of just, okay, let's slash somebody open so that there's blood. It wasn't that way. I mean, there's one scene.
Exploitive.
Yeah, and there's one scene that they use blood in, and if you saw the first one, it was in that one too. It uses a lot of blood, and just, it's gonna happen, get over it.
It's a horror film. It's gonna have some form of blood.
Yeah, and it's just that one time. Yes, there is a lot of blood. There's some foul language. There are sexual overtones as far as incest, but these are all part of Stephen King's books. I mean, don't think that they threw this in as a way to make this sell. No, this is in the book. I mean,
and they toned it down.
And we're not going to go into it about how they toned it down.
But that's not even appropriate by web show standards.
Yeah, and it's just, they've toned this down. It's not, this is a movie I would watch with my parents. Growing up, I would not have been embarrassed to watch this with my parents. Now, my parents would not have seen it because it was a horror movie, but it doesn't make me uncomfortable to watch it with my parents. I mean, it's one of those, it's an R movie, yes. There's language, yes. There's no nudity at all. Right? Except for a belly of a boy, because he's getting bullied. And we won't go into that either.
And the part where they're jumping over the cliff or a waterfall.
Yeah, they're in their underwear, but it's it's not it's funny because they're all big tidy whities too. They come up to here. So yeah, it's an R movie.
They especially got this one funny little scene where you just realize, oh my gosh, these kids are just coming into their pubescence, is that the right word? Because they're playing a song, the song Bust a Move, and they're all the boys are staring at Beverly, the only girl in their group, and it's just so funny because you're listening to it, you can see a sideways shot of her and see them looking at her, and then when she notices, they all look away like this.
Well, and the great thing about that, and this is why I say there's no nudity and there's sexual overtones, but you're looking at this young girl, probably a young teen, and all of these boys are looking at her in lust. No question about it. But that's not what we're looking at as an audience. We're looking at a young girl that is not that way. Okay, it doesn't make you view it that way. You see it through their eyes of, oh, okay, so she's a young girl and she's scantily clad, and this is a big deal for them. But it's not.
It's like you can see it from these events from the point of view of a child, rather than an adult looking back on these same events.
Yeah, and you're not looking at a sexual thing. You're looking at the idea of a sexual thing in these pubescent kids' minds. You know, I thought it was well done there too. I thought that was handled well. So anyway, the movie does end where they do. Spoiler alert once again. They do defeat this evil,
or do that.
But they make a pact that if it ever comes back,
which it will,
they will come back together. And if you've seen the movie, the miniseries from years ago, you know that's actually what that was. It was half when they were kids fighting it, and it was half when they were adults coming back. So this movie ends by saying, Chapter 1.
Which I think that was kind of a bad decision to have that at the end of the film rather than in the very title itself.
Well, I think it's kind of neat because if you didn't see the miniseries, you didn't know there was a second part of this, you know. And so this opens it up, and not necessarily just Chapter 1, and you know, there will be 15 chapters to this.
Yeah, but it's like different when it's a movie compared to when it's a miniseries. Well, the miniseries, you're kind of expecting, oh yeah, there's going to be multiple parts to this. But it seems deceptive.
But see, I mean, after sitting through The Hobbit with you and getting to the end of the first third of that, I was like, well, how can there be more? I mean, I know there's more to the story, but please don't make it. I want to see more of this. You know, I want to see how this ends. Mm-hmm. So I think it was well done. I really like that part. Okay, so let's give it some cows here. This is It, the movie. I really enjoyed it. To some of my friends, I know you're not horror fans. I would say to you, don't go see this. If you are a horror fan and you appreciate good horror, go see this movie. I'm going 3.5.
I'm going 3.5 because too. I have seen horror. It's not the absolute best that I have seen.
No.
The Exorcist is probably above it. It's just, wow, it is some of the best horror I've seen in years.
And it is. I really enjoyed this. You know, we're big fans of The Exorcist as a movie. We just think it is so well made. It's so well put together. A recent movie we watched in the last 5 years that we enjoyed horror-wise was The Babadook. And I put that above this. I mean, I put this above that.
Yeah.
I think it really, it was exciting to see it explore old horror styles and tropes and genres of horror. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you mentioned The Exorcist. There are some parts to this that actually remind me of it, like just the way the clown, or whatever form he's taking, moves is kind of jackety, I believe.
Yeah, and that's a more modern look, but it makes it work in that context.
Yeah.
I mean, how it goes back and forth really fast, that you're talking about?
Yeah, or like when it just is like reforming after getting really, really hurt, it kind of reforms
And when the boy with no head is walking through the library, oh my gosh! I mean
that is terrifying.
I mean,
it's never been terrifying, the idea of a guy without a head until that.
Yeah, and once again, they did it without the fake jump scares.
Every single time you see that happens, that when the music quiets down or something like that, you know something bad is going to happen. There is no point where it's a fake out.
But the beauty of this is you don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how this good horror works.
You can't
Yes,
predict it.
you know it's coming. You have no idea what it's going to be, though. And I love that about this. So that is where we'll end. 3.5 from me, 3.5 from Grant. This, if you like horror and if you're okay with our movies, go see this. This is well worth your time. We really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining us today. Let us know what you think about this. Let us know movies you'd like to see us review. Old ones, new ones, whatever. I mean, this guy...
Red ones, blue ones.
Yeah.
Hey, you set it up.
This guy watches movies, 7-hour foreign silent vampire movies. So we will watch anything.
That's actually true.
I know, and we will watch movies. So if you have something you would like to see us review, you want us to see us watch, let us know in the comments. Thank you so much. We appreciate you being with us today, and as always, don't forget, never ever forget.
Never surrender.
Don't be afraid to join the herd. Ya heard.